boy, do I have a good one for you Atlanta Hawks fans. All right, an NBA insider drops a major bombshell in a Hawks report regarding Trae Young and his possible max extension with the Atlanta Hawks. Of course, we all know that the Atlanta Hawks are buzzing in the NBA right now. If you're anybody that has been watching the NBA or been keeping up with the NBA offseason, we know that the Atlanta Hawks got some heat coming this upcoming season, and we are excited to see what's going on. And there's been so much going on, but there's just a little bit of business that needs to be taken care of. We give a major shout out to Onsi Saleh, new Atlanta Hawks general manager. He's definitely done a lot this offseason, bringing in different front office executives, bringing in Kristaps Porzingis, solidifying Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Luke Kennard, bringing Luke Kennard in, signing different players, bringing guys in for the Atlanta Hawks to possibly return back to the 2021, well, not to the 2021 Eastern Conference Finals, but we hadn't been to the Eastern Conference Finals since then. We haven't seen villain Trae Young since then. And right now, this might, I'm not saying that, this is a championship year, but this is a major year for the Atlanta Hawks. And if they can possibly get this deal done in regards to Trae Young and his contract extension, max deal, super max, whatever you want to call it, as soon as we can get this done, I believe it is all uphill from here. But I have to go ahead and drop some news on you guys, give you guys this major update from this NBA insider explaining the deal between Trae Young and, the Atlanta Hawks and all that other other jazz. So listen, just stick with me today, man. We got a lot to go over, but first off, let me go ahead and join in and start the show, ladies and gentlemen. What's going on? My name is Walter Pollard. This is Atlanta Hawks Digest, and I am super excited for everybody to be here. 71% of you guys are not subscribed, and that is perfectly fine because we know that you guys are watching the content, and we love that you guys are watching the content. But definitely, on the other hand, please, hit the like, share, and subscribe button. You know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't you want to get consistent updates daily from myself and Chris Tibb Moore? Why wouldn't you want to stay up to date on all Hawks information, especially if you're a Hawks fan? And if you're not a Hawks fan, if you're just a Zaccharie Risacher fan, we've got some guys from France that are watching. So definitely hit the like, share, and subscribe button. If you're a Kristaps Porzingis fan, hit the subscribe button. If you like Nickeil Alexander-Walker, hit the subscribe button, because I'm telling you right now, it's nothing but up from here, okay? Now, last time I checked, it was 2,586 followers, and I do appreciate you guys for doing so. You know what I'm saying? But, and I'm sure that number has jumped up. I'm definitely sure that number has jumped up, and we're definitely excited to see you guys, again, watching our content. So definitely continue to do so. Now, Brian Windhorst, let me bring up Brian Windhorst. Okay, so he has dropped a major bombshell in regards to the Trae Young Atlanta Hawks contract dispute. I brought it up a couple weeks ago, knowing that this is something that has to happen. That's the last bit of the last bit of business that needs to be taken care of for the Atlanta Hawks going into this season. They want to shore up Trae Young, make sure that Trae Young is an Atlanta Hawk for the foreseeable future. One of the things you don't want is for all of this cool stuff to be happening and then Trae Young's not able to be a part of it. Okay, we've seen it all over in sports. When a coach he puts a team together and they might not make it to the conference, they might not make it to the divisional, but they got to the playoffs and they made some kind of noise during the season, and then they fire him. And then the next season they win the championship. I'm not saying that the Hawks are going to do so, but my point is that all these things have been going on with the Atlanta Hawks these last few months, and it has been a whirlwind, and it has felt so good being an Atlanta Hawk fan. But we don't want Trae Young to not be here. We want him to stick around. So the last bit of business for the Hawks is to shore up Trae Young. He is up for a 4-year, $229 million max contract. And that is impressive, first of all, to even be considered for that amount of money. Now, here's where Brian Windhorst comes in. Brian Windhorst has come out and said that he doesn't see the Atlanta Hawks extending their $4-year, $229 million max extension. He doesn't see that. And he was even on his Twitter. He had, put up a post saying, hey, ask me any question. And this is why I like Atlanta Hawks fans. We get right to it. We don't waste any time. Is Trae Young going to get the max? He said he would be surprised if so. You guys can read it there. He said that he would be surprised if so. He knows that Trae Young is working with the front office. We know that the Atlanta Hawks front office is working with Trae Young. This is not an issue of front office versus player. You know what I'm saying? This isn't an issue where Trae Young is bitter about something or the front office is bitter about something Trae said out, off the court or whatnot. No, there is a deal to be made. As you can read in the description, he says that there is a deal to be made, and Trae has earned a big deal, but there's this apron era. We are in the apron era, and he goes further to explain how Trae Young could possibly hinder the Atlanta Hawks championship, and I do a lot of this, you know what I'm saying, but it could possibly hinder Trae Young could possibly hinder the Atlanta Hawks championship window if he were to take, or if the Atlanta Hawks were to extend a 4-year max extension. Okay, so we know that the contract issue isn't necessarily one side against the other, but it's more so based off of the apron era that we are in. Okay, first apron, of course, is $178 million. That's the salary cap. The second apron is $188 million. Okay, well then what happens? What are the ramifications if Trae Young and the Hawks were to, just for sticks and giggles, go ahead and give Trae Young that 4-year, $229 million max contract? I'm going to go ahead and find this really quickly, but what that does is it eliminates the Atlanta Hawks from a lot of different things. They can't use their full mid-level exception. That means that they can't bring in quality players in order to help the team go further. They can't have it's harder to aggregate salaries and trades, meaning certain trades can't go through because you have to align the salaries. You got to make certain things match. You got to make things make sense. You know what I'm saying? There's no cash trades. They can't trade for players who are already recently bought out. And this is if they go into the second apron. And let's not even forget that we've seen this issue with the Boston Celtics recently. You dig what I'm saying? It's no coincidence they had to offload Kristaps Porzingis. It's no coincidence that Al Horford is right now waiting to be picked up by another team. You dig what I'm saying? It's no coincidence that we might not see the Boston Celtics in the playoffs for the next year or so, because not only the fact that Jason Tatum is dealing with an injury, but we're also seeing that they were too expensive. And if we have a situation where you pay Trae Young over $229 million, the team could get a bit expensive, and that championship window could possibly be closing faster than we think. Now, this isn't anything that I am saying, and this isn't my definitive feeling about this situation. I'm just reporting to you guys what has been said. And another thing to watch, I already said that. Yeah, exactly. We'll see if the Atlanta Hawks are to give Trae Young an extension. Now, my question to you guys is, would Trae Young accept less? Because that's the other part. Would Trae Young say, you know what? I understand the situation. I want this team to go further. I want to win a championship. I'm going to accept less. So would Trae Young accept less? And also, again, how can you explain to me in your words, how can Trae Young getting a max contract threaten the future of the Atlanta Hawks? Again, I've explained it from my perspective. We have a team that can do it, but it's going to be expensive in the long run. You got to pay Jalen Johnson. Let's not forget, we still got to pay Dyson Daniels. He's up for a contract extension. You know, we brought in the contract from New Orleans, so now we have to pay him an extension. Let's not forget about this guy. Let's not forget about Jalen Johnson. Let's not forget about Onyeka Okongwu. We cannot forget about all of the guys that helped us get here, mainly because we want to pay one player over $229 million. Again, I don't find it any issue giving Trae Young the max contract, but I'm kind of understanding why it would seem to be a bit weird as to why the Atlanta Hawks would give out, you know, a 4-year max deal. It's been almost 5 years since the Atlanta Hawks were in the Eastern Conference Finals. So again, I can understand the position as to why the Hawks wouldn't necessarily do so. Again, like Brian Windhorst said, there's a big deal to be made. There is a major deal to be made. There's a lot of money that Trae Young is owed, and I do feel the Hawks are definitely going to honor that by giving him that, but I don't know if it's going to be to the tune of $229 million over 4 years. But I don't know. I'm doing some more research. I'm going to make sure that because this is some really good information, and I want you guys to definitely talk to me in the comments, because this really will mean the future of the Atlanta Hawks. I know we normally say this, but this has some major implications. Anyway, guys, I'm up out of here. My name is Walter Pollard. This is Atlanta Hawks Digest, and I'm out. Peace.